All right, so we're live and in color. So you guys were business partners as well?
Yeah, we did some things on the real estate side,
Okay, all right.
So it works well.
Since I got you guys here, just when we start these things, what we kind of do, especially when someone's new, and we'll do it just to be to keep our little system going. We want to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself, because we do record it. Some people watch it. They might want to know a little bit about you. So, Chris, welcome. Charles, welcome.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about yourself, my man.
I know. So it says Chris Chessman, but that's only because this is my wife's computer and I don't have a camera on mine. But my name is Charles Chessman. Thanks to George for inviting me. George Thompson and I are good friends. A little bit about myself. I'm an accomplished business professional with a unique blend of diversified experiences in financial services, college admissions, sales and marketing. As I mentioned to Mark earlier, I started out in foreign exchange, transitioned some of those skills into software solutions for Thompson Financial. Did some nonprofit work for my church, some community outreach. I did mortgages. I worked for Berkeley College for the last 10 years. Started out as an admissions rep in the New York branch at 43rd Street. Worked my way up to director of the New York City office in the Woodland Park office. And by God's grace, I've been retired for the last 2 years. So that's a little bit about myself.
And what business have you been doing lately?
Well, we looked into, I don't know how much I should talk about that. But,
Oh, okay.
Right, we're trying to capitalize on some of this COVID stuff,
Okay.
Possible
Right.
things. So
There you go.
So yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather go into detail when it's a little bit more off the ground. I don't want to put my foot in the mouth or put the cart before the horse. But as those things transition out and fruition happens, I'll be more than happy to share with you.
Awesome.
Hopefully,
Awesome.
maybe you guys we can help each other. This is what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's nice to have you, man. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you,
and
thank you, George, for inviting me.
a Teaneck neighbor. I think
There you go.
all three of you guys are in Teaneck, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Michelle, you in Teaneck as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I defected. I moved one town over. I'm in
It's
Inglewood.
close, yeah.
You want to hear something funny on that line? In line with doing my research and following up my clients, I was looking at one of my clients and we're contacting him, and you live in his house.
Say again?
You live in one of my ex-clients' houses.
Really?
Yes.
Belmont?
Yes.
How you know?
That's what I do.
Oh my goodness. So you know my house then?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, when COVID is over, come on by. We do a little barbecue or something.
Okay.
So
That sounds good. That sounds good.
You know what I mean? It's getting lonely. It's getting lonely not seeing human beings. It's interesting. A friend of mine, just to put life in perspective. I think last week, Michelle and I, we were talking about COVID a little bit, right? One of my colleagues.
You froze up.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. One of my colleagues put on Facebook that she and her husband contracted COVID. And he wasn't doing well at all. Like, he had to go to the hospital, and he's just coming back, like getting healthy now. So it's still scary, man. We can't get lax.
Not at all.
Not at all.
We got to stay on
Well,
top.
not only can we get lax, my wife is ultra, highly sensitive to that. So even if I wanted to get lax, she won't let me get lax.
Yeah.
She almost, I say it jokingly, but she'll spray me down with a bottle of Clorox as I'm approaching the house, just to make sure I'm straight.
Yeah.
Not quite that bad, but not that far off.
Not that far off, right?
Chris, are you related to Gail?
Oh, yes. Well, Ed and I are cousins.
Oh, so wait, who's Ed? I don't know Ed.
Ed is Gail's husband.
Oh, okay, got it, because I see the last name.
Hey, actually, I think you and I may have met.
At least one of the National Coalition events.
Definitely there, and maybe at the Biagio's shop.
Yes.
Right? I think, yeah.
Also at a church at Unity event
Okay.
Few years back.
Right,
Yeah.
that's quite a few years back. Yeah, but so Ed Chessman is Gail's husband, and Ed and I are cousins.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, you do look familiar when you came on. But yeah, I do remember meeting you at Biagio's when they had the rooftop event there.
Absolutely. I think it was by one of the fraternities.
Exactly, that's right.
Mhm.
George is like the great unifier here, huh?
He is. He's the Mac Daddy of the Daddy Macs. So I hear. That's what I hear.
Daddy of the Daddy Max. I love it.
It's funny because he's one of the guys who, well, he actually featured about keeping in touch with people and all of that kind of stuff in one of our meetings. It was really, really helpful. Just about the importance of constant contact.
Oh yeah.
I think that's trademark, but still, I'll say it out loud. I'm not scared.
Right. It is.
Yeah. So how's everybody's week been thus far?
Good.
As we're rolling into Friday, right?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. My wife had a little mishap. She tore her ACL a couple of weeks ago. So she had an operation last week. So as I mentioned to Mark earlier, I'll probably have to bounce off this line a little bit sooner just to take her to physical therapy. But other than that, life has been good. You know, I've been playing golf, doing some things on the business side, as I previously mentioned before. And always keeping in contact with George. He and I have a unique experience, and we just like lifting each other up. I think more so now than ever, it's important for Black men specifically and in general to be transparent and be vulnerable, particularly to not only each other, but to some of our younger brothers, to show them the paths, if you will, you know, and to be able to hand off that torch and say, okay, take it from here.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I think we should all pay it forward. I would imagine, and I can be confident saying that we're all very blessed, right, to be where we are at this point in our lives and in our professions and our careers. And so part of what we should do is help others to at least have a clear path and direction. As much as they're willing to accept, we should be willing to give, right? So it's nice.
I truly believe so much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
And that's the motto that my wife and I live by, and that's what we try to do.
Nice. And hopefully, you know, I know people watch this from time to time that they can get something from it, and just be inspired to keep pushing forward. Business is not necessarily easy nowadays. It's so funny. I was talking to
What do you do, Bart?
What do I do? You know, I just man. I just yak. No, we were talking a little bit before. I'm a business advisor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a business advisor. So, you know, why don't we go around the room, because we just talked about Charles. We introduced. Why don't we just refresh our memory? George, tell us who you are, what you do, a little bit about your business.
Okay, George Hobson, resident of Teaneck, family member, husband, father. I've been in business on and off. My own business for the last 35, 40 years. Yeah, 40 years. And right now I'm doing real estate with Coldwell Banker Real Estate at Alpine, close to office, doing Jersey real estate. And lately it's been very busy, very busy. And in going back to researching and on my clients' doors, I've drum up a lot of business. And I'm very grateful, And I'm really grateful because I notice when working with my clients as a professional that I am, I feel I'm more clear and less tension involved in trying to be anything other than what I am when working with a new client. Or a client that doesn't know you, doesn't have the confidence. And Bruce can check on that. But when working with clients that worked with you before, it's really refreshing because of the familiarity, I guess. I guess it's familiarity. And you know what they want, and you know they're real also. I know they're real. I don't have to keep checking on them to see if they're just wasting each other's time.
Cool.
And this week has been very productive and touching base with clients that have bought houses from me, looking to move up. And yeah, that's what's happening.
Okay, very nice.
Hey, Bruce.
Bruce.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone.
Good day, kind sir.
Good day.
Nice to
Giorgio,
see
top
you.
of the morning, top of the afternoon to you.
Top of the afternoon to you.
The other real estate guy.
Yes, we're getting a real estate coalition here, which is interesting because I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But before I do, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So my company is Into Action Coaching. We are a New Jersey-based executive coaching, business coaching, career coaching. We do training and also some consulting work. About 75% of our focus is working with companies, small, medium, and large. A number of them are in the tri-state area, but our reach extends beyond just the United States to international. We've got companies like PSE&G, New York Times, United Nations, that we've been partnering with for quite a number of years. And our primary focus, even around the coaching, and it's been heightened during these times because leaders are really struggling with how to lead their people because they're working remotely and ensure that productivity and performance sort of stays optimal, because there's a lot of things competing for their time and attention and energy. Parents who are homeschooling or their kids are learning remotely, they may not be homeschooling, but because so many kids are at home and not in a classroom, they are stretched and stressed. So I'm getting a lot of calls from department heads and even CEOs saying, we need you to work with our leaders because they are really stressed and trying to figure out how to keep themselves and their teams motivated. So that's what we do around sort of executive or leadership coaching. We work with some private clients. I actually got a call from my old boss, the general manager, who was head of marketing at M&M Mars, who has gone on to be CEO of other companies, who's in transition and didn't realize, because I left before he did, that I was a coach. So he's engaged me to kind of be his career coach, helping him figure out what his next role would be. He's kind of looking for a board position. So that's kind of fun to be coaching an ex-boss. We do training, huh?
Yes, that's very.
Yeah, he was a great guy. I mean, I've had so many bosses, some good, some not so good, but we had a really good rapport. So the balance of power has shifted in light of the fact that he's now coming to me for kind of coaching and mentorship. We've been doing a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion work, given our social climate. So, we've been brought on by companies who have really wanting to extend their initiatives around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's kind of exciting because that's not been a focus, but my business model is working with other subject matter experts and subcontractors. It's sort of an alliance consortium. I have no employees, but I work primarily with contractors on a project by project basis. So I've got some stellar specialists who really have been spending the last 20, 30 years understanding what organizations need to do to ensure that they're retaining and attracting the right associates, because they do have a focus on diversity. So that's who I am. I've been in business for the last 15 years, started it in 2005, having spent 25 years in corporate, but this is my vocation, my passion. This is what gets me up every day. It's what I enjoy.
That's great. And I think in this climate, obviously, the diversity, equity, and inclusion is extremely important. I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities to enlighten people, opportunities for people to take a look at themselves in the mirror, take some self-inventory to better themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very nice.
Yep.
And before I start yammering, Bruce, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing nowadays.
Nowadays, I have to look and see what I'm doing. I manage a real estate office in Teaneck, Links Residential. I've been on boots on the ground. I'm no longer selling only to friends and family. because I'm trying to manage, doing a pretty good job at it. The market is strong, but it's strange. It's right, George.
Oh my God.
Strong but strange.
Oh, but strange.
Does that make any sense at all?
Very, very strange.
And that's what I do. Manage a real estate office. Much different than actively selling. I still sell. But again, friends and relatives. You guys are friends, by the way. So
Oh, thanks.
yeah, don't tell George.
So that means we get a 20% discount, right?
The
More
friends and family
more.
discount.
George will offer you 20. I'll go up.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Listen, also, Bruce ran to tell him that we were in Vietnam at the same time together.
We
Oh,
were
really?
in Vietnam.
I was 5 years old though.
No, you've never been 5 years old, George.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
We
let me ask Bruce and George this question. So I know I've been reading, and I'm sure as most of you probably have seen, the real estate market, it's a great time for sellers because people are outbidding each other before they even see the house on the market. But what happens when it doesn't appraise for that price? Like I've seen many times where a house may be in the market for 400,000, someone may bid 525, someone may outbid the other one for.
Yeah, great question, and it's happening a lot. And what's happening is either the people. There are a couple of things, and that's a good question, Charles. One of the things that's happening is that if it doesn't appraise, some buyers are waiving the appraisal. So therefore, let's say you buy the house is on the market for 400,000, and I bid 500,000.
Right.
Happens like for the stories, and it only appraises for 425.
Right.
Buyer has signed a waiver saying they will pay the $75,000 extra without hold the seller harmless. In other words, they will make whole their $500,000 offer.
Right.
But in more instances than not, people are buying or they're bidding on these houses and they don't have the wherewithal, and it just goes back on the market. The deal kicks out and it goes back on the market.
Okay.
George is exactly right. That's what's happening. But I think the ferocious market that it is now, we're getting a lot of people from the city moving out.
Right.
Because the city is, I haven't been there in a long time, but the city I understand is really devastated. So people are moving from Long Island, from the city, they're moving to Jersey.
Pennsylvania too. They're commuting.
They're
People are
commuting
to Eastern Pennsylvania just to get out of the state.
exactly.
Daily commute.
Yeah, when I worked in the city, I had a lot of colleagues who were more than an hour out. They were in different parts of upstate New York or Pennsylvania, and they were coming to the city. It was their normal course of action just to stay away from the city. And this was decades ago. So I can imagine now
And
it's way, way, way
Yeah,
different.
same here.
That's what's happening. That's what's going to happen. But I think the party is going to stop at one time. It can't go on forever. The inventory is also low. Would you agree, George?
Oh, no doubt. Yes.
Well, that's why it's a seller's market, right? When the inventory is low.
That's why the price is going up so much, because there's not enough inventory.
Exactly. Inventory is short. And that's why you see on almost everything, multiple offers. And
I have a question.
It's fine.
Yeah, so, to Bruce and to George. So I think you're right, Bruce. You know, the party's not going to go on forever relative to the kind of mass exodus. And we know that I think the impetus is, you know, people are just feeling kind of stifled, those that have been in Manhattan given COVID. And yet, I guess I'm puzzled with them making such a significant sort of lifestyle change. What happens in a year and a half? You know, when kind of our world returns to maybe a new normal, but yeah.
It's not, I don't agree it's going to ever go back.
but the question is
Well,
always going to
or
be,
new normal is right. It's never going to go back though. I think
yeah, but the question is going to be,
normal.
people are going to always buy and sell, right? People are going to live in New
Correct.
York. When people live in New York City, I mean, it's always been congested and crowded, but it's New York City. So people aren't, it's going to rebound.
Okay.
Why wouldn't it rebound? It's just
Because they have a 46% vacancy rate right now.
right
in
now they
rentals.
do.
right. But if you
That's
go back in
ridiculous.
time to the 1980s, right? Because as I was mentioning to Mark, I started as a foreign exchange trader many years ago. I mean, there were times when New York City you couldn't sell property in New York City for a while.
That's right.
I mean, there were places going on sale for $10 a square foot. I mean, they don't want to stress at that time. Whoever jumped on it then, though, they made a killing.
$1
The same thing
brownstones.
happened around 9/11, where there was another mass accident.
That too, right?
Correct.
I was going back.
I mean,
to
and
my
I grew up,
early
I was
80s,
born and raised in Harlem. I remember when I was a pre-teenager, they were selling
$1
brownstones for
brownstones.
$1, right?
$1
And so
brownstone.
it was like, and I remember helping my dad would get this brownstone, and he didn't. He stayed in the apartment. But I was like,
Right.
man, these buildings going for $1. You think what is the cheapest brownstone in Harlem now?
Now
What?
you can't
$1 million.
get anything in Harlem.
Yeah, you can't get
Harlem
anything.
is so hot.
Yeah, because New York City is New York City. So I mean, yeah, this is exodus now. People are interested because they flow with tides almost. Right now it's lousy, but the minute things calm down to we find some way of managing life, people will come back to the city.
Pendulum will
Sure.
swing.
Yeah,
It's all
So
sick.
with the 46%, what did you say, vacancy rate, is that Harlem too, when you talk about
It's
New
New York
City?
City rentals.
No,
and
no.
that's the rentals, not the ownership, right?
Oh, rentals. Oh,
I
okay.
I personally would extract Harlem from the numbers because it is strong,
Okay.
but it also is an anomaly
Right.
because, as we all know, there are times that you couldn't give anything away in Harlem.
Right.
That was
Oh,
decades
I'm
ago,
not
though.
moving to Harlem. I'm not moving to Harlem.
That was decades
Now-
ago, though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, with the regentrification, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We
But
spoke
It's a
about
place
that.
to be.
yeah, but listen, a month ago I had dinner in Harlem. My son's wife, not really, they aren't married, but her mother lives near Harlem, right outside in one of the high-rise apartments. And we went to Harlem for dinner. I don't remember the restaurant, but it was packed. It was great, and people were walking around, and it was wonderful. But we all know that wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
I think that, again, focusing on Harlem, I think it'll stay strong. I don't think it's going down.
There's no doubt that it's going to stay strong.
I think so.
There's no doubt about it. I grew up in Harlem. I remember in the 70s, I remember, walking through certain blocks, and in the 80s, those same blocks, there was like no one living on entire blocks, or one or two people.
Right.
And if you walk through like 148th Street between 7th and 8th, around 9 o'clock at night, you were walking through a city street and it was pitch black with maybe one apartment light on in the entire block because the rest of the buildings were empty. I remember those days. Those are so far gone. But that will never, I don't think that will ever happen again.
Correct.
It
And
was
you know
a crazy time.
I think I think Bill Clinton helped Harlem when he decided to open up his offices.
No doubt.
His office.
It changed a whole lot.
Didn't it? Didn't it?
It changed a whole lot.
When he moved in, I think that's when it really started to pop. That's what I recall.
That's what I keep hearing, but I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think gentrification is it's not just Harlem, right? I mean, it happened in Philly. It's happening in a lot of places
Correct.
that we would consider ghettos. It's a plan.
Correct.
It's a plan. And when you live in the cities, there's just a different type of vibrancy. So that's why it'll never die. People will move out to the suburbs. You have a bunch of kids. You say, I want my kids to have a backyard, but the city will always survive. So that's always probably a good place to put some money if you got it. Right? If
You're
got
right.
it.
You're right.
What's our topic supposed to be today anyway, Mark?
Well, we done digressed all over the place. We we've been all over real estate.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about money. No, we were going to talk about money. I
Oh,
had gotten this quote from Robert Kiyosaki.
Sure.
Making more money will not solve your problems if cash flow management is your problem.
mm,
I thought it was an interesting quote, and I'll just start first because so many of my clients, when we're trying to advise them and they have issues with cash, the first thing they say is, I just got to get more sales. I just have to get more sales. If I can just get more clients. And that's not necessarily the answer. And Kiyosaki made it clear, right? More money does not mean that you're going to resolve your cash flow problems. So the first thing that we need to do, and typically when I'm trying to work with a client and that's their issue, I'm trying to identify why they don't see money in their pocket. Sometimes they're profitable and they still don't have money in the pocket. So we try to identify that first. And then we work on cash flow management plans so that they can actually feel the money in their pocket and then start making good decisions. And so I just thought that was an interesting quote in view of the times that we're in now. A lot of businesses during COVID, right, have shut down. Big corporations have shut down, right?
Right.
Huge department stores have shut down. I mean, and I understand that this is unlike any other time in our recent history, but to me, people were shutting down so quickly that it wasn't just the disease, right? It just wasn't the pandemic. It was the fact that they weren't managing their business as well, right? And so if your business is not managed well and you have an economic slowdown for a couple of weeks, you might be shutting your doors. So I thought it was an interesting topic. What about you guys?
Oh, no question. It's funny you should say that because my wife and I, through our church, we have this financial education seminar. So we talk about that specifically in terms of being able to budget, being able to, you can't get out of debt and save at the same time, right? You have to be able to budget, to know where your money's going, to get out of debt, to get flat, and then you can start saving, and then you can start investing. But to your point, there's so many people who think that if I had more money, that they'd be better off, and that's not the case. Because if you don't change your mindset, if you don't change your discipline, because it all comes down to discipline. You know, being able to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to budget this, and I'm putting away X amount of dollars each month. Most people, they can't do that. Okay, it's easier, a lot easier said than done, but it really comes down to just being able to discipline. And to your point, Mark, we speak to people, we say, okay, let's put down a budget. Let's see where your money's going. Because a lot of people don't know where the money's going. If you don't tell your money where it's going, it's going to tell you where it's going. You know, so I think it's extremely important for people to actually see where their money's going. They need to know about compound interest when it comes time to investing. I told people that I wouldn't let high school people get out of high school unless they really knew what compound interest was. If you can take advantage of compound interest, you'd be so far ahead of the game, so far ahead of the game. But I digest. So I'll turn it back to you.
Oh, well, thank you for your comment. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And on a personal level, yeah, people really, you know, this financial discipline is a challenge for a lot of people. It's even harder on a business level, though, right? Because you have expenses that you feel are necessary in order to stay in business.
Right.
And so, like, just trying to figure out for a lot of people what cost to cut is a challenge, right? And conversely, where to invest. Where do I spend my money? When money is tight, do I, you know, if money is tight, do I hire a business coach or a business advisor at this point? I don't have no money for that, you know. So knowing where, it's a lot easier to me personally than it is professionally, right? I mean, for me personally, it's like, okay, if money is tight, then I'm not going to buy a new car. I'll just rock with what I got, right? You know.
Right, but a lot of people have a misconception on a personal level, distinguishing between needs and wants. Right?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay?
absolutely.
And that's what it comes down to. Do I need this or do I want this?
Absolutely.
You know? Most people, they confuse that. They think they need it, but it's actually a want.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And that's where it gets turned upside down.
It gets hairy. It can get hairy personally.
Exactly right.
Absolutely. So, cool. Other thoughts?
Yeah, so one of the things that's real prevalent, it doesn't matter how much money you make, it's how much you keep.
Amen.
Stopgap. So when I say that the business will not business, but New York will never be the same, it's that a lot of corporations are looking at their business models. They have whatever amount of their staff right now working remotely. So therefore, and they're saving tons of money on real estate. I mean, businesses are, not all businesses, but a lot of businesses don't want to see 800 employees in a building and paying rent when they can have 700 employees at home in front of their computer. And having that much more efficiency, that much more focus, that much more savings, stopgapping their money, outflow of money, So that's one of the things I find that's, keeping the money.
To that point, though, it's interesting because when your business model changes so dramatically, if you have 500 employees, let's say, and you have them in a building, it's a lot different managing them than they do at home. It makes me think what Michelle started her conversation with, right? So now leaders are reaching out to Michelle and saying, hey, this is so very different. How do I manage, right? How do I make that, transition? And so I don't know if that's how things are going to play out. Who knows? Because it is a huge cost saver not to have rental office space for some, right? For others, it might not be. But how you manage the business is still going to make a big, big difference. And it's funny, Charles, you're talking about needs and wants, right? So now it's like I'm saving all this money on my office rent, but you blow that money somewhere else, you can still have cash flow problems. You got to be really disciplined.
Right. I always go back to athletes, right? And that's where it actually hurts me, because you have athletes, football players who retire 3 years after they retire, they're totally broke. And that's just about mismanagement of funds. You have these sport athletes and these entertainers who've let millions of dollars pass through their hand, right, without leaving any type of legacy. No legacy at all. It's just came in their hands, went out of their hands. They wound up broke, and it's pretty sad though to see athletes that have functioned to such a high level, made millions of dollars, and now they're broke, or lotto winners. Same thing, But it's about financial management. It's about getting renewal of the mind, those type of things.
So let's wait, because I want to hear it. I want to hear this conversation anchored to us as business owners. So,
correct.
I'm sorry,
Mark, that you posed. What is it that you want us to reflect on?
Well, primarily just the importance of cash management, how to manage your cash, what to do to make sure that you're profitable. So, I like the discussion about needs versus want, especially when you're talking about business, identifying what's really important and making sure that, you have the financial discipline so that you can withstand slow times, right? It's so funny that when cash is good, when sales are good, you can operate a bad business, right? You find out the case, right? Because money's coming in. So your money's coming in and still going out just as fast. But the minute you have a little bump in the road, doors close, really. So I just want to focus our attention on the value of managing the cash now so that you can do it going forward.
So as an advisor, share with us, because I'm eager to know, when things are going good and the cash is flowing. So what's optimal? What's an optimal cash management process or policy?
Excuse me 1 second, Mark. Before you answer that, great question. I have to get off of here because I have some things to take care of. But it's been great to meet with everyone. I look forward to speaking to you guys again. Sorry I had to jump off, but thank you for the time. Pleasure meeting everyone.
Hey, it was nice having you, man. We really enjoyed your comments. Appreciate it.
Guys.
Friday.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good weekend.
All right,
Okay,
Chris.
you do the same.
Nice guy. George, you guys know a lot of people, huh?
Giorgio? No. Oh, okay.
That's George's homie. No, but cash flow management, I'm going to go back there just for a moment. And, it's definitely different metrics that you might want to use. But the first thing to me is understanding your financials, right? And getting a handle on that. So with a lot of businesses, if they have cost of goods sold, for instance, it's identifying what your percentage of income, your cost of goods sold is in relation to your percentage rate, and making sure that stays constant, right? So if the business increases by 30%, cost of goods sold should increase by 30%. I mean, that's in the perfect world. and you want to make sure that you're monitoring that. So cost of goods sold is one of those important components that I look at, especially with people like contractors, and well, anybody who deals with subcontractors or builders. I deal with people like that, because when they, as you know, with real estate, when construction costs change or materials change, how do you make sure that you're managing your billing properly so that you are continue to have that constant piece of the pie? So that's one of the key elements. Also, we look at just what are the cost cutting measures you can take in your expense category in the P&L. You know, and what I like to do is sort of kind of come up with a baseline for your business, and every business is different, right? So they tell us in accounting, you know, if you have a 50% profit margin, you're doing pretty good, right? So if I'm looking at a business, and everybody's going to vary. So if I'm looking at your business, let's say, Michelle, and for the past 4 years, I see that you're making 45% and you're comfortable, and that's where we want to be, right? And then I'm going to make sure that you keep your numbers in line with that. Is it time to increase prices? Is it time to, you know, reduce some expenses? How are you doing with your subcontractors? So we want to look at those things on a regular basis to make sure your cash flow is appropriate. And one of
So
the
let me
things.
ask a question. So do you
Mhm.
advise with the monthly P&L that there should be a target for what percentage net operating profit I should have? So I should sort of look at my business and say, you know, what is healthy. So maybe it's 45%, maybe it's 50%, but I should be looking at that figure on a month-to-month basis to make sure that if for any reason my revenue increases, but my expense increases, which kind of takes me off that target, I need to make sure that if my revenue stays the same, I decrease my expenses so that I'm consistently targeting, making sure that whatever my operating profit is.
Conceptually, yes. I would not. I mean, I think a lot of accountants would love to tell you every month. I think that's a little bit too much.
Okay,
You know, I typically with my clients do a quarterly review,
got it.
right? It gives you a little bit of time to see trends,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can have 1 month, you know, good example. Well, for if you rent office space, I rent office space. I might pay my office space, you know, the check might clear September 1st. And then at the end of the month, it might clear September 30th, and now my numbers are way out of whack. You know, so I like to look quarterly. And what I typically do as well, you know, is I will compare previous period. So for the third quarter 2020, I want to compare it to the third quarter 2019,
Mm-hmm.
right? And see that things are staying in a specific, you know, we have a nice line there. And that's a nice way to catch anomalies and see what things are creeping up as well.
Got it.
So that's definitely something I do on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
Bookkeeping should be kept up, right, every month, absolutely, but not. I don't think it needs to be scrutinized as heavily.
Got it.
Yeah, the value is at the end of the quarter when something is off. You can go back to your prior month and say, okay, let me look at the other. You know,
Mm-hmm.
why did it jump? What did it change? And I just see a lot of business owners, especially when they have cost of goods sold, where that can be problematic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you bid a project, you know, and all of a sudden the contractor comes in and he's a little higher than he used to be, but you bid the project, and so you're eating into your own pocket, right? And you need to just understand what the process is for his bidding, and that way you can determine what your pricing should be. So all those things are going to matter.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
But also, what matters is we don't know what the economy is going to bring. If you're a small business, look at all the stores in Paramus on Route 4, Route 17, where the doors have closed, and in stores that have been in business for 60, 70, 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
We can't predict. We can predict, but it isn't necessarily accurate predicting the future. All we can really deal with is deal with today.
Yeah.
We can project.
You project, yes.
We can hope, but we can't, whether you're in the retail business. George and I are in the retail business, retail real estate. That's what we're in.
But one of the things, Bruce, what I understand from what you're saying, Mark, is that, and this is the thing we say in business, albeit real estate coaching, whatever, is to know your numbers. And once you know your numbers, you can interpret what has happened. You can see the history of the difference when you base it on last year to this year, regardless of the climate. If you know your numbers, if I know I have to have my monthly, throwing out a number, my monthly number is 9,000. I got to pay $9,000 to run, and I see where from quarter to quarter how the revenue stream has changed, because and it has changed. I can see what I need to focus on. For the last few months, as a realtor in my business, I've been focusing on keeping the executive management healthy, which meant staying out of the line of fire as far as doing business. Was more important to me to focus on and touching base with people that I know from inside my house as opposed to going out. So my focus became on increasing my numbers through that means, as opposed to having done it a different way at a different time, or last year, or
Right.
6 months ago.
And so you hit the operative word. It's not about, that's what this quote is really, right? It's not about just making money. And it says managing, cash flow management. It's about knowledge, right? This year especially has been, I keep saying it's an anomalous year, right? I have some clients. I have one client. She's a funeral director in New York City. So you can imagine that her sales have been
way up.
Unbelievable. Is this going to be the case next year?
No.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, right?
Right.
But even during that time, and it's not a knock against her, we talked, I think, in April or May. And this is when it was hard hitting. And I said, your numbers are really up. And I said, and she was like, I don't understand. I don't feel like I'm really making more money. And so we started talking about it. And she actually was discounting her services to when she was subcontracting her services out to other funeral directors. And I said, why in the world would you be doing that? This is the time to have all of your fees at the optimal. If you are working 12 hours a day, this is the richest you should be. You should be loaded. If you ever reach 100% capacity in your job, you should be loaded. And too many owners don't do that. But she didn't know her numbers. She wasn't even thinking about her numbers. She didn't even sit down and evaluate, you know what, if I keep my fees, don't give any discounts, and I'm fully loaded, how much more will I make? Why am I discounting this service? Why? When the demand is so high. But she doesn't really take the time to focus on the numbers. Understanding that is going to make a big difference, And so I just think that this quote really highlights the importance of taking the time to know your numbers as a business owner. We always focus on our product or our service, getting to be the best business advisor I can be, or the best real estate agent, or the best executive coach. But when you own the business, it's not enough to be the best in your craft. You have to be the best business person. And so that's really what it's all about if you want to be profitable, if you want to have good, heavy pockets. It's not just making money, it's managing it well. Make sense?
Before I was in the real estate business, I've been in the real estate business for 24 years. Before that, I was in a family business, window treatments, blinds, drapes, shades, reupholstery, that type of business. I was in that. Actually, the business was started in 1910 by my grandfather. I kept numbers. On a yellow sheet of paper every day. I could have told you what we did any day in prior years and current years, and I found that a big help. I did it by hand. Computers were still in the growing slows. They were still in their infantile stage, and it worked. Just this relates to your business. These are payments that I've made to.
Oh, don't show that.
No, but nobody can understand. Doesn't matter. What do I care?
As soon as I saw the letters, I knew exactly what it was.
Yeah. We want to hear something somewhat comical for a moment. I sent a payment into the IRS the end of April of this year. Sent it certified mail. They received it on May 4th. You know when I got the green card from the post office? Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah, things are a little awry.
Express
these
mail.
days.
And it was received on May 4th. So I guess my point is, if the post office can't get this straight, it's hard, it's difficult, it's challenging for many people to not get things the way they should be.
Agreed. But
Look
as
at this.
business
This
owners,
is a
if you want to
perfect
be,
example.
but as a business owner, if you want to be successful, there's certain things that you have to prioritize, right? Cash flow management
Yes.
is one of those things you have to prioritize. That's the lifeblood of the business. Cash is king. That's what they say, right? Cash is king. But if you can't control it, then you're still going to have problems. And I've worked with a lot of clients who did very well with sales, but simply because they didn't manage it well, they were always broke. They were always struggling.
Mhm.
Is
Michelle,
it
you had a
just
thought?
me, Mark,
Yes.
you're garbled. Is it just me?
No, it's you. He's fine for here.
Oh, okay. All right. It's my signal. Sorry, guys.
I think it's a weird day because I'm getting in and out too. So I've gotten a couple of weird Wi-Fi moments today. So, but good. Any other thoughts or questions about that?
I guess that's always a thought.
But so much of it we can't control. It's difficult to control.
You can't, you know what? It's interesting. You can't control sales, right?
You can control your money.
You can control your money.
You can control your money, but you can't control your sales.
Correct.
Right.
If you don't have sales, then you don't have money to worry about.
Right.
Yeah,
If you don't
but-
have,
Right. But what you can control, what you can't control,
right.
and then everything else is. I mean, you can control what you can't control.
Correct.
That's the serenity. Is the serenity prayer? Is it? God grant me the serenity to allow me to do the things I can.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
So here's the thing, guys, because I love the conversations, but sometimes it gets so abstract and theoretical. I'm so concrete. I need you to anchor it. So I get what Bruce is saying, completely agree that, we can't control circumstances in sales, but yet we can control cash. Okay, so talk about a scenario where, let's just say at the beginning of COVID, many of us, maybe it was for a month or two, I know I experienced a significant decline in revenue because contracts were suspended and halted and proposals were not being accepted. But my expenses, both personal and business, were what they were.
Yeah, they don't stop.
What? So what do you do when you say you can control your cash? But what do you do in that instance? Your mortgage is your mortgage, your mobile phone and your car payment and whatever business expenses you have are pretty fixed. So what do you mean by you can control your expenses or your cash?
So the two sides to that equation, if you don't mind, I'll jump in, right? The
Yes,
first thing
of
is,
course.
and we said when business is going well, how you manage your cash matters. So every business, and I try to encourage every business, the first thing to do is to build a cash reserve, right? And your cash reserve is something that's not just abstract. It should be concrete. It should be a number that says, I'm going to have a cash reserve of at least, and it's, I don't know how many months of flux. I'll tell you that it's going to be varied for each business, but it can be done. So now COVID hits. You might have
Wait, stop there for a minute.
Okay.
So I know it's too hard to be, because I've heard that before and it makes sense. But what is it? Should it be 3 months of a reserve?
So on the personal side, they say you should have 6 months of savings, right? On the business side, it's a little different. And it's so hard to say because every business is different. I'll be honest. For me, if I had cash reserves of 3 months, especially when I'm doing my traditional accounting, I would be dead by what is that? April, May, June, July, right? Because if taxes aren't flowing, money is dipping, and I have overhead. So I'm trying to build up cash reserves that literally get me through December every year, right? And so that's what I mean by so hard. But you want to have something in place, and it might be you look at your business, you look at your seasonality, you look at your net income from year to year, and then you say, okay, this is what I want to have, and you come up with a number, and it's going to be unique to you, and you start to build that reserve when money is going well, when business is going well. There certain disciplines that I try to help people with to even start to create this cash reserve. So now COVID hits and you might have to dip into your reserves. That's what it's for, right? But at the same time, not every expense in business is fixed. In fact, a lot of business expenses are variable, right? It depends on your business. When I see a store like, let's just say, I think Lord and Taylor, I think that I walked through the mall the other day, they have shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, if they shut, and I can't talk about now because I'm not that person, but like in the first 2 months that they shut down, it's like, why did you shut down? You have 2 months of rent that you cannot change, right? But the landlord, but your biggest expense for most businesses is payroll.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody was at home. So you cut out your biggest expense. Now you sell merchandise. If you don't have to buy any merchandise at the moment, and I don't know, obviously, the retail industry like that, but if they didn't have to buy any merchandise, their cost of goods sold could have dropped significantly. Their payroll could have dropped significantly. You mean you can't go 2 months without cash flow? That's what I mean. In my business, I was fortunate, and I thought it was going to be very different, quite honestly. When COVID hit, I thought, oh my goodness, nobody's getting their work done, but I have employees, and I kept my employee. I have my rent. That I couldn't get out of. My landlord told me he would have deferred, but I didn't want to defer. Why defer if you don't have to, right? But other expenses I was able to cut. So if you're trying to figure that part out, one of the things you can do in a profit and loss statement too is segment your P&L, right? You can have something broken out with like fixed cost, and then fixed expenses, variable expenses. That's one of the things you can do. One of the things that I do also with some businesses, it depends. I'll have a category of occupancy expenses, right? So for me, I can break up. I know what my rent's going to be, my internet connection, my telephony. I know what that is. So I know I've got to at least have this nut. And maybe my concept is just off the top of my head without really giving it a lot of thought. I want to have 6 months of occupancy expenses set aside in my reserve account, 3 months of payroll expenses set aside in my reserve account, and that's the dollar figure I want to have. Does that make sense? So now if every dollar stops, I know I can pay my rent for 6 months, I can pay my payroll for 3 months,
Got it.
and then and that's my reserve. Now after that period, if I don't have a sale in 9 months, maybe it is time to hang it up. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the concept. You want to look at your expenses, understand what your fixed are, what your variables are, and say, this is how much reserve I want to have. Obviously, the more, the better. But in a way, we make money to spend it, not to hold on to it for dear life, right? So you want to have enough that the business can flow, and you want to actually build up your personal more than your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to definitely create the plan that you're building up your personal, so that if everything does happen to me, this was worst case scenario, COVID. This was like worst case scenario for a lot of people.
Yes.
And if you survived it and your sales dropped, now for some of us, it went up. My funeral director, it went up. Limo driver, it went up because he was driving funerals, but others, it dropped. One of my clients has a service that he focuses primarily the restaurant industry. So obviously his numbers dipped, but he had reserve. He was able to get through it. He dropped certain expenses appropriately. His cost of goods sold obviously would have dropped. Auto expenses dropped. He did a lot of driving to different locations, and he got through. But that's because he manages his cash the right way. And if it would have been an extended period of time, if his personal expenses are okay, he's not going to be panicking as much on the business side. He can go a little bit longer, so that's kind of what you want to do.
Mhm.
Create, look at, and that's really knowing your numbers, right? So you
Mhm.
can say, hey, I need to have this much, this much, this much, and then build those reserves when the money is good. Sadly, if everything goes to pot and you didn't manage, you're shutting your doors.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Does that make a lot more sense? Or
Yeah, it does. Yep, it's concrete. Okay, cool.
cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for focusing us today. Sometimes we can get lost.
We do get lost a
Yeah,
little bit.
so we appreciate that.
Okay.
We're coming up on our hour, so I know it's been a while. Last week we didn't really have a meeting. We did. It was a one-on-one, and it was awesome. And I didn't record it, so you guys blew it. But thank you, Michelle, because I really enjoyed chatting with you. But goals. Do you have goals for the upcoming week that we'd like to share? Last week, 2 weeks ago, George, you were going to try to reach out to 15 contacts.
Yes, 15 clients.
How'd it go?
It went good. In fact, that's what got me so busy right now.
Oh, nice,
Yes, yes.
nice.
And it I was able to have discussions that I really had planned to have. I had focused on what the question was so I can go in and out, meaning speak to the clients and get as much information as possible, because I'm also having a lot of time showing clients. So not only doing those, I'm working on new business and working on old business, or getting people into new homes.
Nice. Congrats.
Challenging.
Congrats.
It's been very challenging, as Bruce said before. It's been very strange if you're working with buyers nowadays.
I understand that. So
Very
what's your goal? What's your goal for the upcoming week? Can we share one?
me myself,
Yes, sir.
15 new clients.
You don't want to stretch that a
15.
little bit? You don't want to stretch that a little bit?
No, no, because I'm working with rentals now. I'm working with new
Right.
buyers, and it's not just about having more contacts. I have to service the clients that I have under my belt now too.
Okay. All right. Fair
Right.
enough.
I think it's a real good number.
Okay.
3 a day, I think is really good.
3 a day. Okay,
Right.
cool. I like that. 3 a day. How about yourself, Michelle?
Hang on, let me take you. Oh, I'm off. God, this is such a moving target. I've got to service the clients, the projects that I have. I've dispersed and I'm working with a lot of subcontractors on it, but I have to kind of have it stay focused. Excuse me, I'm using the printer. But the other part of the goal, because this is getting me present to my money management. So I'm going to look at my P&L for now through August, because September, my bookkeeper hasn't completed. And I need to be able to make sure that I'm building a reserve. So I want to take a look at my financial situation and make
Beautiful.
sure that I'm focused in on the money management, cash
Beautiful.
management piece.
Beautiful. Nice.
Yeah.
And Bruce, how about you? I haven't seen you in a little bit. What kind of business goals do you have for the next week or so?
I think I want to get the agents more motivated to do rentals. As George said, rentals are strong now. Rentals, you don't make a whole lot of money, but it's quick money. And rentals are strong. They're people are coming from the city not only to buy, to rent as well. So
Nice.
I've gotta get the agents to understand that when they complain, I don't have a deal. Well, do rentals. You'll get paid. You'll get a paycheck in a week. When you do a sale, you get a paycheck when it
Couple
closes.
months,
It
60
could
days of
be
closing,
3
right?
months, 4 months, 5 months.
So may I ask a question, Bruce? So
Sure.
what activity were you involved in to make that happen?
Nothing specific other than motivating I'm pointing to, like you can see, I'm pointing to where the agents are over there. It's very hard to get them to understand.
So
Go ahead.
here's the question. What are you going to do in the next week to motivate them? What do you intend to do to motivate them?
All I can do is keep talking to them. There isn't anything. I can't feed them biscuits. I can't feed them steak. All I can do is talk to them, and
Now, before you conclude that, Michelle is shaking her head like this.
no.
Let's have another conversation, because that is too passive. The word can't should not be part of your vocabulary. The fact that you may not know how to motivate them, I get it, but the fact that you can't is a misnomer. So again, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation, but there's ways to try to figure out what incentivizes each of them to then move the needle and start to work on rentals.
Yeah.
And until you figure out how to do that, telling them anything is not going to register.
It's just white noise.
No.
So here's the first question, Bruce. Why do you care? Right? Why do you care if they have rentals or not? And then from there you can start to build on your messaging to them. Like, that's what I would think. You know, if it's my employee, I care that they're successful because it touches my success. And so all of it is related in that regard. So I think there's a lot of things you want to, and you might want to take the next week and just define those things. Like, why do you care? You know, why don't they care?
I'm going to disagree with you, Mark.
Okay.
It's so maybe that, you know, I know we're past the hour, but I just want to get to the bullseye. It's not about Bruce. It's about them. There's an acronym called WIFM, WIIFM.
What's in it for me?
Yeah, what's in it for me, right?
Right. So the WIFM is about what's in it for the sales agent.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce may have a motive, right, that he wants to help them become prosperous, but at the end of the day, until he can identify individually what's in it for the agent, what do they want to accomplish with the commission that they could glean from renting a property, that's what he wants to get at. So that's the link to finding out what's in it for them, because that's going to be their motivation and their incentive.
I agree with you. The only reason I said that he wants to find out his why is because it changes the way in which you deliver a message.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't care about the agents, then my message is going to be generic. I've got to first understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then I'll be motivated to really try to dig deep and understand, because it's like, I can't do nothing. You know, I just think I think there's a missing mindset there. And I think your mindset is important. Your mindset is going to dictate that you really focus on how to reach your subcontractors, for want of a better phrase. But, you know,
Don't forget, they're all on commission.
I know.
They're all on commission. And if they aren't selling something, if they aren't selling a property, then hey, Charlie, how about looking for rentals? Because they come in, I'm not doing any business. I need a deal. I need a deal. Well, we'll help you work on a deal, but in the interim, do some rentals. It isn't bad income. It's quick income.
Right.
Money is money. Money is green.
It is green or silver or copper. Anyway,
they don't have silver and copper anymore. They're short coins.
I got it. I have a reserve.
See that?
Yeah, sure. For years.
Guys, we're well past our hour. So I just want to thank you all, and nice goals. Bruce, you can get more concrete, I'm sure. You will. And we look forward to maybe chatting again next week.
I do get more concrete. It's in this group where I'm
fluid,
less formal. Yeah, fluid.
Understood.
Fluid is a better word. It seems to work. It's just George knows. You can't just push a button and expect it to work. You have to work.
But one of the things I get what Mark is saying, though, is you probably, and Mark didn't say that, but it's probably have to do motivating yourself before you're able to motivate them.
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah. I don't quarrel with that.
That's it.
So really, and that's what I was saying, your goal can be this week, just focusing on what you want to convey and why you want to convey it. You know, it's like, if if your agents came complaining to me that they don't have sales, you know what I'd say? Okay, well, why do I care? It doesn't matter to me, but it matters to you.
It
And
does
so
matter
because
to me.
and so you need to understand why it matters to you so you can convey to them what they need to do, because you have to convey that message. But it's you have to first realize why it matters, and that's going to push you to do more. If we don't have a reason for wanting to help someone internally, we're not going to give all we can, or we might not go that extra mile. We might not focus on what it takes to convince that individual because I don't have that intrinsically. So it starts from within, you know. And that's what I was trying to convey to you earlier. Really focus on why do I want these people to understand this, right? Because quite frankly, I don't care if your agents don't make a sale. They have no relationship with them. So I couldn't even motivate them. But you care, and there's a reason. And once you understand that, and you convey that to them, you know. But that's something only you can answer. No one else can. Hey, we're
Exactly.
well
And
past we're well
you have to
past our
treat
hour.
everyone differently also. Everyone is unique.
Yeah,
Everyone has
absolutely.
their own personality, their own motivation, their own level of motivation. And I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were
No,
gonna.
we're just well past our hour, so I'm going to shut us down so we can enjoy our weekend.
Okay.
We'll do
Okay,
it again,
Mark.
guys. Thanks so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
And
What's
thanks
the
for
Have a
the
good
topic?
info,
Okay.
weekend.
George.
Okay. You too now.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you
Bye for
all.
now.
All
Okay,
right,
bye
bye-bye.
for now.